back to Dana's Cocktail Hour. Last week I talked about the effects of divorced parents, and when it comes to how you experience your life throughout your youth and throughout your adult life. So this is my wonderful husband that I just talked about last week, and I call him Parrish. So he, had a little tune when I said something about, oh, you called me Herman, because he watched my video, and he is very supportive. And so we were in the car and we were having a discussion. He watched the video, and then that led him to talk about his experience with divorce, as far as being a product of divorced parents as well as a divorced person, right? Okay, so I want you to go back to the discussion we had in the car the other day and share your experience, because we both have different experiences. I experienced it as a younger, very young person, and he experienced it as how old were you?
I believe 18 going into 19.
Yeah. So.
Well, first of all, hello. I experienced divorce between the ages of 18 and 19. And it wasn't as, I would say, detrimental to me at that age, but I did have some effects. And one thing I can say is that throughout my experience with my parents on the verge of divorce, it was a lot of, so to speak, arguing, bickering, things of that nature. There wasn't one of those type situations where my mother was the person who was the one I felt like was the one I wanted to support any more than my father. At that age, I basically looked at it as I was glad that, honestly, the arguing seemed that it was about to cease. So my thought process was, I was glad it was over. It had been told to me, and it's been a myth that I've heard a lot of times, that the parents will stay together for the children. Once again, let me reiterate, staying together for the children is not an actual thing that is, so to speak, necessary. It can make it worse on the children dealing with things that are not being said because they can sense or feel it. And I definitely sensed and felt it. When my parents got divorced, I felt my father went on with his life and my mother went on with her life. And they both met and married. And honestly, with no disrespect intended, I was at an age where I didn't see where I needed a stepfather. It wasn't due to the fact that I was being disrespectful, but I just didn't see it. I'd established a relationship with my father. My father was still living. And I just viewed it as my mother had a husband and my father gained a wife. And we went on as such. But across the board, as far as having effects with children, things of that nature, you have to think as a parent, and being a divorcee, you have to, even during the times that you're planning the divorce or the situation is coming about, you have to think about what's best for you, but also what is least detrimental for the children. And that's what the main issue is. You would hope that it wouldn't have a major effect on all parties, but it does. It truly does. And in my opinion, you can either make the decision to deal with it in a positive manner, or it can be toxic. Toxicity is not good for any party. Children, yourself, what have you. So you want to lessen that and try to make this a transition that is going to be, productive for all parties involved.
So with you being a divorced person, how was that experience for you? Going through a divorce from the first person?
It was definitely personally, my situation was I married at a very young age. I was very immature. I did not have any idea what I was getting myself into as far as marriage, obligations, things of that nature. Also, I was newly into the military, so I had a lot of added pressures put on me. And I remember hearing a person say to me, I left one set of rules to go to another set of rules. And I left my parents' home and the rules of the parents' household, going into a married household, and the rules were being established as we went along, but I didn't have the mental capacity that I have now as far as marriage is concerned to be able to cope or to deal with. So that contributed to some of the reasons why we became divorced, because we didn't know each other. And yes, I married because I had a child on the way, and I had been taught in my life that when you have a situation of that nature, you stand up as a man and take responsibility and do what you need to do. That is great thought process, but sometimes it's not the best theory, because you need to learn and understand the people who you lay down with and get up with a child. And yes, I made a lot of mistakes in the resisting of the divorce, because I thought as a man, I thought, oh, I need to fight for this. But I didn't really know what I was fighting for. And what it became a shouting match, a possession match, so to speak, with the child. That was so unfair to the child. And it was very immature of the two parties involved, being myself and my ex. But what I did learn is that you want to do everything possible to make the transition as less painful, hurtful for both parties involved, but mostly the child, because they suffer. And I'll be the first to admit, mine, at that time, I had a child from the previous marriage, and they've suffered some effects, but I will also give the disclaimer. Anything that happens to you as a child, an adult, or any place in your life, once you accept that it's happened, you want to heal from it. The possibility of healing from it is very, very possible. It solely, I believe, sets on the shoulders of the individual. Do you want to be better? Do you want to be healed? And that's what I see I gained from it. I wish I could go back, and I do wish I could go back and undo some of the things that I did, unsay some of the things that I said, and understand that words today can have effects tomorrow. And that is a very, very, very important thing to know. If nothing else, whomever is listening and maybe going through a situation, remember, think, breathe, then speak.
Thank you, HP. Okay, so I came up with a different way to end my segments when it comes to my topics, and I always have these thoughts that just magically appear. Could be, I don't know where they come from, but I decided I would write a letter to my younger self. So this is in reference to divorce. Hey, younger you. Your parents divorced when you are very young. You are so young that you have no recollection of the events. You can only remember one moment your dad was there and one moment he was not. Your parents' divorce will have negative effects on you and how you experience life, but you don't have a clear understanding of how until you are much older. It comes when you are fully in touch with your thoughts and feelings when it comes to your parents' divorce. It's okay for you to think the thoughts and feel the feelings, but don't let their divorce define you. Their divorce has nothing to do with you. They still love you very much. Love the wiser, heal you. And I want to thank everyone for tuning in, and hopefully you will continue to do so. And I will see you next time. Okay. Welcome back to Dana's Cocktail Hour. Again, I'm Dana, the woman of the hour. Oh, how long I plan to talk or speak. I forgot to invert. I didn't forget. So charge it to my head, not my heart. two very important people last week when I did my introductions, and that is my wonderful mother, Barbara, and my wonderful father. I don't like steps, so he is my father, Floyd. And I also forgot to mention how supportive my family have been. My son Damon, who helped me to bring this together, who's right now he's behind the camera. Last week, my wonderful daughter Dominique, who was behind the camera, and again, my wonderful husband, who keeps continually telling me how proud of me he is, and that helps boost, my confidence. Because again, like I said, I am not a fan of public speaking. So that is all. This is also helping me become more relaxed and more comfortable with speaking to, although I don't have a crowd, speaking to people. And how I chose to put this together was how these events came into my life chronologically. So I started with the divorce of my parents, and so today's topic is about absentee fathers. Now, before I talk about absentee fathers, I want to preface this by saying my father is deceased. He died in August of '95, so he's been gone for a while. And this is no disrespect to him, but it's my reality. So what I chose last week, I chose a cocktail. This week, I chose a term when it comes to a cocktail, or my daughter said something that's no longer available on the menu, and I chose 86’d, which means is a drink that is no longer available. And that's kind of what brings it to thought of an absentee father. They're not available. They're not there. They're not present. And that can definitely have detrimental effects on an individual, male and female. I did see this shirt one day that I thought was very interesting, and it said, a dad is a son's first hero and a daughter's first love. And I really believe that. I really believe that the interactions that we have with our dads is as important as the ones we have with our mothers, because they teach you certain things from their different perspectives and their roles in your life. And I have seen, not only from, my experiences, but not, because this platform is not about name dropping. It's not about putting people on blast, as people like to say, but I have some real close family members to me that have been absent in their children's lives, and I have seen that unfold in so many different ways. So for me, I didn't, as I said, growing up, you don't really have a full, clear understanding of how it is affecting your development until you become older, and you look back and you say, yeah, that piece that wasn't there had a lot to do with the decisions I made. So, which had something to do with how I chose people who I wanted to so-called date or be in a relationship with. And you don't, as a female, and having a father who wasn't in my life as much as I would have liked him to be, I believe that has something to do with how you see a person, or being able to pick up on certain things when it comes to males, and seeing your self-worth and realizing you don't need, I don't need another man or another male to tell me I'm beautiful. I don't need another male to tell me, oh, you look good, or I don't need another male to tell me how much I need them, because you have those men or those males, you interact with, they think they have to stroke your ego, and then that leads to them getting what it is they want or getting their needs met in a certain way. So if you don't know anything else, if you are planning to be or have any thought of wanting to be a father, whether you're with the mother or not, it's important for you to be there. Now, can we make it through life without that person, that male guardian being there? Of course you can. It's not the end of the world, although sometimes it may seem like it is or feel like it is. But you can make it through life. But I feel like it makes things better to a certain degree on how you navigate those male relationships when it comes to the female aspect. Now, as a male, I can't really say a whole lot about that because I'm not a male. But I have seen how it has affected a young man that I'm very close to. He's an amazing young man. He has gone through his different trials and tribulations when it comes to that. But he just recently, probably within the last 5 years, has become more comfortable with talking about how it had an effect on him, and we had no idea. We kind of knew, but hearing it come straight from him, it was very heartbreaking. He would see his dad every now and then. It was not as much as he would have liked. He has not been able to form that bond that I've seen with other men and their sons, especially when it comes to my son and my husband. Yeah, they have had their ups and downs. That's life. Everybody has their ups and downs. We don't all agree, especially kids. They don't always see where we're coming from. We don't always see where they're coming from. But at the end of the day, they have a relationship. And with this young man that is a very important person in my life, and I'm a very important person in his life, he has some healing. He's still healing, and he's in his 20s, past 25. So and then hearing him talk about how he wants to be when that time comes, when he's makes the decision to be a father. It's unexplainable how he's still hurting, and I hurt for him, hearing him say certain things. And it's funny but not funny. But he refers to his dad by his first name. It's like, it's very uncomfortable for him to even call him dad, which is really sad. It's I don't know. It's just really, really sad to hear that. And speaking about my experience with my dad, I never got to the point where I felt so disconnected from him that I didn't call him dad. It's amazing that I didn't, but I didn't. I always felt a connection to him, although he was not there present. I would say 50%. And that's the harsh reality. I don't even think he was there 50%. And I still feel a connection with him, you know, not being there, and then him, I was 19 when he passed. But I still think about him, and I still feel a connection. So it didn't get to the point where the young man I've been speaking about has gotten to. He's just, and he's gone through different milestones in his life, graduations and other events that have come about, and he doesn't feel the need to share, which I don't blame him. You know, I can't say he's wrong for that, because I've been there and I've watched it unfold. I have some other adult females who are very close to me in relation, not so much as far as having a relationship with them, because things happen and, you know, they choose to do something different. But I've seen how it has affected them, you know, and how they see men and how they either choose to interact or have relationships, or they choose not to. Because sometimes you just be like, you know, I'd just rather be by myself, because I don't know how I'm going to be present or relate in that way when it comes to having a relationship with someone. And, you know, there can be uncles and grandfathers and cousins who may step up and can be that person, but it's nothing like having your father there. There's no comparison. Now, so as I said before, don't do yourself a disservice by holding on to that hurt and that pain. If you need to talk to someone, talk to someone. Whether it be a counselor, whether it be a friend, whether it be a relative, you have to talk to and talk through these things, so you just don't hold on to them and you don't have long-lasting, healthy adult relationship, because it'll get in the way. I came to a realization one day. I was driving down the street, and in other video you've seen my husband, love my husband dearly, and I'm not blind, so you know there are you come across people and you say, oh, that's a nice looking man. And I was riding down the street and I happened to look over and I said, it came to me. It was funny, but not funny. There was a time where I said, I could never date a brown skinned man. I was always, you know, lighter skinned men were something I just was drawn to. And in that moment is when I came to the point where I said, that was possibly me looking for someone like my dad. And I said, oh my God, is that what it really is? And I said, yeah, that's what it is. Because my dad, if you can't tell looking at me, he was a lighter skinned man. And they say that or my mommy likes to say, people normally look for someone that's like their dad or like their mom. And I can kind of see that. And like I said, in that moment, it was like, I never, and this was maybe about a week or two ago, that was something I never thought about, was me having that connection or that attraction to lighter skinned men. Was that me looking for someone like my dad? And I said, yeah, that it had to be. And then I think I got to a point where I had to find, if I'm looking, I have to find somebody who's good for me, not based on their skin complexion, just based on, is this a good person? And later on, I found that person. I just want to, I've come to a place where I could say that I am whole to a certain degree, which is how am able to sit here and talk about the things that I'm talking about. Because before, it was something that I don't think I could have done, and not be in tears, seriously. So, like I said, and I have not been in counseling or consulting anybody. It's just been some things that I've been able to filter through my mind. And at times, I may talk to my kids or my husband or some other available family member about what I'm thinking or what I'm feeling. And not to say that I probably early on shouldn't have seen or talked to someone, because I probably should have. And you probably can heal sooner than later. But again, like I said, I've come to a place where I am better, and I'm glad that I am, and I'm able to talk about it and share, my experience with other people. And like I said before, hopefully this will open up a dialogue where others will start talking about it. And it's because a lot of things that I've experienced, I'm pretty sure a few people have experienced some of the same things and are not understanding, that did affect me, and how did it affect me, and I really need to talk to somebody, get through it, get past it, so I can move on. And so again, at the end of each of my experiences, I'm writing a letter to myself, my younger self. And this one is about having an absentee dad. And I say, hey, younger you, your dad won't be a part of your life as much as you probably need or want him to be. And you won't know why. The fondest memories you will have will be him bringing you a bicycle, going to his home to watch a video of the making of Thriller, visiting him on your 17th birthday, him attending your high school graduation, and coming to the hospital when you have your first child. He will bring you pink roses and a huge pink teddy bear, which you will keep forever. Your memories of him will be few and far between. Unfortunately, the one that will stick out the most will be the day he shares his illness with you and your siblings. You being the observant, inquisitive individual you are, you know what he's going to say just by looking at him. Another memory that will stay with you will be the day Grandma calls to inform you that your dad has passed away and how you reacted. You will be upset about him passing, but unsure of whether it's because of what is or what wasn't. When you are much older, you will have a moment of clarity where you will have a better understanding of your choice in males when it came to romantic relationships. One day you will have a major epiphany. As you're riding down the street, you will see a guy off in the distance. It is then you will say to yourself, that's why I was more interested in light-complected males. Love the wiser healed you. Was not expecting that. And I want to thank everyone for tuning in to Dana's Cocktail Hour. Have a good day.